Good evening everyone, it's 6 p.m. and I declare this ordinary council meeting open. May I welcome all councillors, staff, members in the public gallery and anyone watching live stream. I'd like to first acknowledge the traditional custodians of the region in which we're meeting tonight, the Wadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and their continuing connection to the land, waters, their culture and community. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and their descendants. Item 2 is the disclaimer. The terms and conditions of entry into this meeting are posted on the door as you enter. Please ensure that you have read them prior to attending the chamber and that you abide by them. Attendance and apologies. I note all councillors are present other than Councillor Podovnik, who's just walked in the door. Beautiful. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 4, declarations of financial proximity or interest affecting impartialities. And I'll read from the screen. Part 413 of the City's Election Caretaker Revision Policy states, for the purpose of transparency and for the benefit of the public gallery, candidates are requested to identify themselves as an election candidate prior to asking a question or making a statement at a briefing session, agenda forum, council meeting or committee meeting. The following persons have nominated as candidates in the upcoming local government election. Councillor Bowman for Mayor, Councillor Congdon for a candidate for the Whiteman Ward, Councillor Henderson as a candidate for Mayor and also as a candidate for the Swan Valley Gidgee Gannup Ward, Councillor Johnson as a candidate for Mayor in the Midland Guildford Ward, Councillor McCulloch as a candidate for Mayor in the Pearce Ward, Councillor Podovnik a candidate for Mayor in the Midland Guildford Ward, Councillor Richardson as a candidate for Mayor in the Pearce Ward, Councillor Singh as a candidate for Mayor and Councillor Zanino as a candidate for Mayor. This is taken to apply for the entirety of this meeting and the relevant councillors will not be required to identify their candidacy each time they address the meeting tonight. If there's any candidates in the public gallery, if you wish to ask a question or make a public statement, you'll also have to declare that you're a candidate. Are there any other declarations or interest, councillors? No? We'll then move to item 5, which is public question time. Questions and answers recorded in the minutes of the meeting may be summarised in accordance with the Local Government Administration Regulations of 1996. All questions received before this meeting have been answered and will be included in this schedule, and all questions will be published in the minutes of this meeting. Item 5.1, answers to questions which were taken on notice. The questions taken on notice at the last ordinary meeting council on the 12th of September 2023 have been answered and were included in the agenda of this meeting and are republished here. There are 5 questions from Mr Tim Howling, 3 questions. Question from Mr Arnold Whiteside, questions from Ms Gina Bloom, and they have all been answered. Item 5.2, questions relating to reports contained in the agenda, and item 5.2.1, questions of which due notice has been given, there were nil, and 5.2, questions without due notice, questions from Karen Mowat have been answered. Other than those questions have already had their questions answered, is there any member in the gallery wishing to ask a question on an item on the agenda? Being no questions, we'll move on to item 5.3, other questions, and 5.3.1, questions of which due notice has been given, and there were 5 questions from Ms Kerry Blinko, 3 questions from Mr Jeff Blinko, questions from Mr Gavin Troy, questions from Naomi Jenkins, questions from Karen Mowat, have all been answered. Other than those that have already had their questions answered, is there any member in the public gallery wishing to ask a question on an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Thank you. If you can please come forward to the podium, state your name and ask your question. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Viola Maripodi, Bermuda Drive, Ballajura. I'd like to ask a few questions regarding Lot 501 Paradise Keys, Ballajura. We
Thank you.
understand that the land for the proposed Paradise Keys aged care development may be divided into 2 separate lots. Is this correct?
Mr van der Linde?
Mr. Mayor, yes, in the process of creating the separate lot for the buffer along this, the swamp area, through that subdivision, that was a subdivision to create the reserve. That will be amalgamated with the swamp itself, the buffer area. We also had to widen Paradise Keys to protect the trees and entry signs. So through that subdivision, cadastrally, the lots that are divided, the lot that's physically divided by Paradise Keys, the road, created 2 separate lots cadastrally. That doesn't mean that it's 2 development sites. The intention is still that it be developed as one aged care facility site.
Thank you. And just to clarify, that has already occurred.
That has occurred, yes.
Thank you. Next question. Thank you, Mrs Maripodi.
I think he answered all.
Answered all the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll ask again, are there any other questions from members in the gallery on questions contained not in this agenda? Being no further questions, item 6 is public statement time, and registration for public statement concluded at 6 p.m. last evening, and no persons listed to give a public statement, which takes us to item 7, petitions. All petitions were presented to the agenda forum last Wednesday evening. The following petition was presented at that agenda forum. It now requires to be tabled tonight. It was a petition containing 2 signatures, which was tabled by Councillor Congadin on behalf of Mr Jared Quinlan regarding a name change for the suburb of Lockridge. I'm now looking for a mover and a seconder so that petition can be forwarded to the CEO for consideration and response. You're moving it, Councillor Parry, and seconded by Councillor Zanino. I'll ask, is there anyone against? Being no one against, I declare that carried unanimously. Item 8 is deputations. Deputations on the items were held last week at the agenda forum on the 4th of October, which takes us to item 9, announcements by the presiding member. And I do have a few, thank you. Good evening, everyone. As tonight is the last meeting of this current council before the next local government elections, this council, despite our differences, has achieved so much together over the past 2 years. We have worked to keep the wheels of local government turning. I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on some of the major achievements we've shared. We opened the doors to the new Ellenbrook Youth Centre. This $7.1 million facility received $4.3 million funding from the state. It provides a crucial service to our young people of our city where they can socialise and build schools to make better citizens for our future. Earlier this year, we also opened the new $5 million Brockman House Community Centre in Beachborough, providing a modern and functional home for the local not-for-profit organisation. And only a week or two ago, the $71 million upgrade to Stock Road was opened, thanks to more than $16 million in federal funding. This 4.3 kilometre road now connects Tonkin Highway to the Great Northern Highway. It'll boost road safety and unlock economic potential in that area. We've also completed upgrades to duplicate Nangara Road worth more than $7 million, and we've also improved the dual path footpath and cycleway on Tujo Road, Middle Swan, thanks to a $250,000 contribution from the state. The spotlight was shone on the Swan Valley as we travelled to Canberra for Showcase WA, and the team that attended worked hard in pushing for better NBN and mobile coverages to support local businesses in that area. We also launched Swan Engage, giving our community a new and improved way to engage with the city. Our public website got a major upgrade only this week. With a new layout and revised content, it is easier than ever for users to find what they are looking for when contacting the city. There are also many exciting projects in the near horizon, as well as the opening of Swan Active Midland, the new Bells Rapid Lookout, the All Abilities play space in Balladura, and even the long-awaited leisure centre coming to Allenbrook, which will commence next year, along with a new community hub. So once again, thank you, councillors, for your support to our residents and businesses. During my time on council and as mayor, I've witnessed incredible strength, resilience and unity from our community. Together we have tackled challenges and celebrated triumphs in our goal of improving the lifestyle of our residents and businesses, and you are all to be commended. To thank the city staff, thank you to our current CEO, Mr. Stephen Kane, and his dedicated directors and all employees of the city. Your depth of knowledge and desire to do the very best to respond to issues and solve the problems does not go unnoticed. Tonight also marks the final meeting for Councillor Bryce Parry. Bryce, thank you for your contributions to the city and the people of the Whiteman ward. Your witty, energetic and passionate contributions to this chamber have always been thought-provoking and have challenged us all, but in a good way. We wish you the best for your future endeavours. I'd also like to extend my best wishes to all candidates in the upcoming election. This is an exciting time for the city, and I look forward to watching the new council and what it achieves from the comfort of my home rather from this chair. To all councillors, thank you once again for everything you have accomplished so far. I wish you good luck with all that you will achieve in the future. Be well, make good decisions and stay grounded. And in closing, I'd like to make special mention to Deputy Mayor Councillor Mel Congdon. Mel, thanks for your support over many, many years and even more meetings. I'll now hand over to the Deputy Mayor to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors and those ratepayers in our gallery, we have 3 awards being given to our staff in recent times, and it's 3 of the city staff have taken out awards during the month of September. Kirsty Arnott, our coordinator for the community development, received the Community Development Meritorious Award at the Local Government Professionals WA Community Development Conference. This award is given to those who go above and beyond, contribute to improvements and support their colleagues, and all skills admire. So this is the award that was received for Kirsty. The second one, John Mogridge, our Indigenous Partnership and Development Specialist, received the Community Person of the Year Award at the city's NAIDOC event last week. This award is in recognition of John's leadership within the community and how he's instrumental in so many different initiatives. So I affectionately call him Moggy, so Moggs, well done and fantastic. We also had our Manager of Communities Libraries, Deborah Summers, win a prestigious Wowga Local Government Distinguished Officer Award at the 2023 Local Government Conference. This award is in recognition of outstanding contributions to the local government sector, demonstrated leadership and outstanding achievements in advancement of the local government sector. A massive congratulations to Kirsty, John and Deborah for their awards and being recognised for those. So that's Deb's award. And finally, Mr. Mayor, tonight marks the final meeting of our Mayor, your good self, Councillor Lucas. For those who are unaware, Mayor Lucas has been serving the community as a member of council since 1992. That's 31 years of representing the people of Swan, and that's an outstanding achievement, and you should be extremely proud, David. During your time on council, you've shown leadership, compassion, a genuine sense of community, and you've been committed to leading cultural improvements, responding to our community's needs, and working closely with residents and businesses. You've been a part of so many committees over the 31 years of service: the Altone Park Management Committee, Events and City Relationships Committee, Reconciliation Advisory Group Plan Committee, and the Swan Development Committee, to name just a few. You have been represented at the city meetings with many different politicians, ministers and international delegates, always demonstrated with dignity and respect in your dealings. Mayor Lucas, I hope for all of us here tonight, and thank you for your tremendous contribution. This type of passion and commitment is something to be admired. Thank you for the hours you put in and the dedication you've given. It's been an absolute honour to work with you over these past few years. I hope you enjoy retirement and spend the hours, Chris, You can have him home. Just tell him where the washing machine is and the dishwasher. And you'll gain back your beautiful wife and maybe relieve some of those duties. To your friends and families, especially to our new great-grandchild, they thank you as well. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Val. Thank you. Thank you. That now takes us on to item 10, leave of absence. Anyone requiring leave of absence? No, we'll get that sorted out next meeting. Item 11, confirmation of the minutes. I need someone to move and second the confirmation of the minutes of the last ordinary meeting on the 13th of September. Moved Councillor Parry, seconded Councillor McCulloch. Is there anyone against? Being no one against, I declare that carried. That takes us to part B of the agenda, and item 1, adoption of those recommendations contained in items not withdrawn. And for the benefit of the community members observing this meeting, Council uses an en-bloc method of decision making. This means that agenda items where Council supports the officer's recommendation are not debated separately. One vote is taken on all the items and the officer recommendation is therefore the decision of this Council. The following items have not been withdrawn for individual consideration and will be dealt with via the en bloc method. Therefore, the officer's recommendation will be the decision of Council. In Part B, there is item 6.1, Financial Management Report for the period ending the 31st of August this year. Item 6.2, List of Accounts Paid in August 2023. Item 6.3, Change in the basis of valuation, and you would have been provided with a new map on that. And item 7.1, Parking Local Law 2023, undertaking a request by the Joint Standing Committee, and you were advised at the agenda meeting last week that there's been a minor revision to this recommendation provided at the agenda for additional clarity, and the revised recommendation will be adopted as part of the en bloc vote, and that was an addition of these words. Clause 3.12 of were inserted in item 2. I'll just say that for clarity. I'm now looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved Councillor Bowman, seconded Councillor Richardson. Is there anyone against? Being no one against, I'll declare those items carried. The following items from Part B have been withdrawn from debate and in accordance with the Meeting Procedures Local Law 2023 will be dealt with by Council individually. Those items are item 4.1, the Responsible Authority Report, Proposed Childcare Premises in Waterhall Road, South Guildford, and item 4.2, Responsible Authority Report, Proposed Education Establishment, Lot 9000 Masonry Way at Malaga. Item 6.4 is there as it requires an absolute majority of Council. There has been no alternative motions submitted, so it was withdrawn, so we get an absolute majority. That takes us to the first item, item 4.1, Responsible Authority Report, Proposed Childcare Premises, Lot 1, Number 9 Waterhall Road, South Guildford. It's on page 20 of your agenda, councillors, and Councillor Johnson, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My motion is that Council resolve to advise the East Metro JDAP that the Council does not endorse the officer's report as there is insufficient parking for both the existing Waterhall shopping centre and the proposed childcare premises. 2. Record the reason for changing the officer recommendation and not endorsing the report is that A. The City of Swan local planning scheme required 120 car parking bays for the Waterhall shopping centre and requires a further 15 car parking bays for the proposed childcare premises. The total parking required under the local planning scheme is 135 car parking bays. The development proposal provides for only a total of 88 bays to service both the proposed childcare premises and the Waterhall shopping centre. This is a shortfall of 47 bays. This is a shortfall of 38%, which is not insignificant. B. 13 submissions have been received, noting concerns in relation to traffic and the site having insufficient car parking bays for all land uses.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Howlett. I'll ask, is there anyone against? Being no one against, I declare that carried unanimously. That takes us to the next item, councillors. Item 4.2, Responsible Authority Report, Proposed Educational Establishment, Stage 1, Lot 9000 Masonry Way, Malaga. It's on page 34 of your agenda. Councillor Congdon, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The proposed motion by myself is the council resolves to not endorse the auditor's recommendation for the Metro Outer Joint Development Assessment Panel to approve the development application with conditions. 2, recommend the Metro Outer Joint Development Assessment Panel refuse the above development application for the following reasons. The application has failed to demonstrate that the proposed school, both in its first stage and intended subsequent stages of development, will adequately address and access and traffic management concerns associated with the existing single point of access from Masonry Way.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Parry. I'll ask, is there anyone against? You wish to debate it?
Sure.
Thank you. Councillor Congdon, you have 3 minutes to open your debate.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd firstly like to say that I'm not against the Islamic school at all. I need to make that point clear because it might have got a little bit cloudy when we had the site meeting as to the intention of the school. Mine is simply as a measurement of the traffic issues we face on Masonry Way. And I'm here to talk on behalf of a whole number of organisations, companies that exist on that Masonry Way. So the reports you have in your diligent on pages 50 and 51, it is suggested that the mitigation measures in the form of a roundabout on Bonner Drive Beach Road intersections at stage 3 would require an approval from the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage. Now, whilst I understand this is a stage 1 development, not a stage 2 at this stage, or stage 3 or stage 4, but they will be in play. It speaks to the number of issues relating into the traffic modelling. And for those who have been to site, if you drive down Masonry Way, now whether you come from Pavers Circle or you come from Bonner Drive, you will note there is cars parked on either side of the road. There are cars parked on verges. There are cars parked on the sharp corners. And then we don't even have a school in place at the moment. There is a suggestion that the city need to sort out the parking issues on site. And I have no doubt that is the case. We need to address it as it's getting worse. And it will get worse as ATCO build their building up the top. There are a number of buildings here, companies operating buildings that have large container transport come into this Masonry Road, Masonry Way. So the measurement to say that the development can accommodate these traffic movements, I believe, is not correct.
You have 1 minute left, thank you.
Thank you. The applicant has acknowledged that the development of stage 2 will require mitigation measures and traffic generation as part of that application. Now, stage 2 will follow stage 1. It is stage 3 and 4 that's in question, and that's up to the applicant. But I want you to understand that this is a road that's got from Pavers Circle down from Oxley Drive coming into Masonry Way. And then there's Masonry Way into Bonner Drive. Bonner Drive hits Beach Road. And Beach Road has a strong problem in the afternoons and the morning with access of traffic getting to the roundabout and up to the set of traffic lights. We already have a number of issues getting onto Beach Drive, and that's at the back of the markers for those who don't know it. Beach to Alexander Drive, it's only got a right-hand lane. It doesn't have a dual right-hand lane or dual left-hand lane. And at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, for those who drive that particular road, you'll find there's traffic banked up from Beach Road, Alexander Drive, all the way down.
Thank you, Councillor Congdon. That's your time.
Mayor, I move an extension of 2 minutes if required. It's a very significant matter. I think we need to deal with it.
I'll deal with it if it's the will of the council. So move Councillor Henderson, seconded Councillor Johnson. Is there anyone against a 2 minute extension of time? Seeing we've only got a short meeting tonight, there's not many items withdrawn. I also concur. So you have 2 further minutes, Councillor Congdon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll just continue on with the Beach Road Alexander Drive. It's only a single right-hand lane, 2 through lanes. There is traffic jams come from Beach, Alexander to Beach, all the way down to the roundabout where the servo is, a little bit further down onto Beach. It's suggested that in order for this development to proceed in its entirety, there will be a huge number of changes to the road network program, and that will require roundabouts, it will require traffic signalling amendments, not to mention the need to look at how we're going to do the park coming into the 2 access points. And at this stage, the 2 access points aren't clear whether it's left hand in, left hand out. I haven't been able to receive any confirmation on those 2 parts. When we're talking about the huge number of students going to the school, it's going to be a problem for students trafficking the road.
You have 1 minute left.
Thank you. The Masonry Road itself does not have a footpath. So people who are coming out of their businesses to go to the lunch bar down the road do so by walking on the road, taking their chances with traffic. If the school is to go in, I understand there's going to be 1 footpath put on one side of the road, but it really needs 2. And the issue we have is we've got huge trucks backing out, huge trucks driving in, and the line of sight becomes an issue on some of the very sharp corners that exist. So I can't support this at this stage, Mr Mayor. I would have liked to have had the information that was provided last week a little bit earlier, and so would also the people who opposed this development. I think, in my opinion, what should have happened, once we received the amendment traffic, it should have been a new submission and not the old submission and tacking this onto the end of it.
Thank you. Councillor Parry is the seconder.
Nothing further to add, Mr Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Speaker against? Councillor Howlett first.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've thought about this quite a bit, and I wasn't sure which way I was going to vote, but ultimately I think that we should be encouraging schools in the City of Swan. We're a growing area, we're a growth council, we keep banging on about that, and with growth requires schools. And as I understand, the applicant already owns the land, so you know, they've made a positive step towards adding a school to our city. I'm also prepared to believe the applicant has heard the community and has heard the councillors' questions regarding the concerns of the traffic movements along Masonry Way and all the feeder roads into that, and by doing so they've prepared an amendment to the Stage 1 plans to address those concerns. Whilst it may not be perfect, I think it's certainly, I think it's workable. And on top of that, I'd like to think that perhaps some of the graduating students from this school may one day, that's if this application is successful, may one day attend the university or TAFE that Councillor Parry is proposing that the city advocates for in his motion on tonight's agenda at item C 1.2. So please think about supporting another school in our area. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker for the motion. Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I do support schools. I do support new schools in the area, but in the right locations, and that is critical. Mr Mayor, this is incremental planning at its best. The application quite clearly says it's dependent on Stage 2. Stage 2 is not 527 students, but it's up to 1,460 students. The traffic consultant report provided by the applicant quite clearly states that from Stage 2, the traffic along Masonry Road will start to exceed the traffic mid-block capacity of 600 vehicles per hour. So their own consultant is telling us in Stage 2, which the applicant said is dependent on, there's going to be problems. Mr Mayor, schools in the right location. Look at the Operational Policy 2.4. They recommend 3 street frontages. This hasn't even got 2. This has got 1 street frontage. The reason Operational Policy 2.4 recommends 3 street frontages is because they know you have traffic problems. And 3 street frontages...
Please continue.
3 street frontages usually don't always, but help in that situation. How many schools do we know that have three street frontages, and yet we still get complaints? Mr. Mayor, the changes came about from an on-site meeting where us, the councillors, expressed concerns. Now, I would have thought, Mr. Mayor, if this was given due consideration, the paid consultants who are specifically expertise in their field would have identified these issues. It shouldn't be up to the councillors to do that. Mr. Mayor, we should not be looking at this application because this application has changed. It's planning on the run and it does not make good decisions.
You have 1 minute left.
Mr. Mayor, in the application, it talks about we can do this, we can do that, we can look at this, we can look at that. Well, I'm sorry, but for a planning application, that doesn't cut it because that means nothing. If the applicant was serious about looking at the traffic problems, they would have looked at solutions and not provide the application in front of us.
Thank you. Speaker against the motion, Councillor McCulloch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, the Islamic community, including those within the City of Swan, have needed a new school north of the river. They've been looking for a site for a long time. They've purchased this site. It's capable of approval for a school. Our officers have looked at the report comprehensively and deem it is capable of approval as the recommendation to go to JDAP. Yes, there are access constraints associated with the site. These are understood and the school is happy to work with city and state agencies to resolve them. That future-focused work that we can do collaboratively with the schools, the businesses, to strategically address the parking and traffic concerns are not unattainable. Yes, there are some of those issues, but they have been identified and there are strategies to address those challenges. School times won't necessarily coincide with peak times of the gym. Incremental planning can work well to the benefit of the city and all involved parties. Cars parked in the streets and corners, well, we need to set some boundaries and look at that as part of the strategy to mitigate the issues. All parking for the school is going to be on site. We need to look at the future focuses to allowing development where it's allowable and mitigating those issues so that we can continue to provide for businesses, economic development, for schools that facilitate education and our multicultural communities. One of those initiatives being proposed by the school is accommodating all the parking and the pick-up and drop-off areas within the school site.
You have 1 minute left. Thank you.
So Masonry Way is not intended to be used for that purpose. Yes, there have been some changes. Yes, there have been site visits. Yes, there have been some revised reports. But all of that has contained detail that has given us future-focused strategies and possible solutions to mitigate what needs to be done. And guess what? There are other developments. ADCO are doing a build. There are other spaces which will be developed on. Why should the school have to stop when their time is of an essence to provide education for one of our communities that we value, and they are put on the back burner while we sort something out? I believe that our city can get this done. We can work collaboratively, future focus what needs to happen, and move forward with this to recommend to the JDAP approval. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Speaker for the motion. Thank you. Any other speakers for or against the motion? Councillor Prodovnik. For or against? Thank you.
I'm speaking against this motion and I'm speaking in support of the officer's recommendation. Simply because the Islamic community are the second largest religious group within the City of Swan, second only to those that identify as Christians. But there's only 5 Islamic schools in the whole of the Perth metropolitan area. The school has found a site that allows a school to be built in Malaga, it is a permitted use, Council. Tonight we are looking to approve stage 1 of a 4-stage proposal, and at every stage there is an opportunity to assess the school's impact and to find solutions if problems arise. A stage development is not a negative. A traffic impact assessment shows stages 1 and 2 of the college can be delivered using the existing road network, and City of Swan staff are recommending approval of stage 1 with conditions. Because at this stage, parking issues can be resolved and traffic issues can be resolved. And if there are major problems with traffic and parking in stage 2, then this will need to be worked out and addressed as part of getting approval to build stage 2. All stages of this development will need to be considered and applied for. Should the school decide they want to proceed to build stage 2, then we'll have enough data gathered from the impact of stage 1 to work out if that's possible. But that's not a decision for tonight. Tonight, we are simply being asked to comment on a proposal for stage 1. The college has shown a real willingness to work with the City of Swan and find solutions to concerns that have been raised, particularly concerns about the current parking and traffic situation. The college has given the city concept plans to show the existing issues and identified possible solutions for the city to consider and implement. One solution includes changes the city can make to significantly improve the existing traffic flow and safety within the road network.
You have 1 minute left.
A condition of approval in our report tonight addresses child safety. That condition requires a footpath to be built along the eastern side of Masonry Way all the way to Bonner Drive. And although most children will be dropped off, that footpath will make using Masonry Way safer. We can find solutions for traffic issues, safety issues and parking issues. I'm asking Council to support this proposal and please support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. I'll ask Councillor Henderson, you speaking for or against?
Against, Mayor, thank you.
I'll just ask, is there anyone speaking for first? Then please continue. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Councillors, this is a complex application. One of the things we face today is that land is becoming scarce. Even residential land is becoming scarce. We have a large site here that can accommodate the now and future needs of the community, and it's allowable under our scheme. Now, I think there are many questions that are still yet to be answered. Absolutely, there are. In my mind, the drop-off and pick-up isn't an issue because that's all going to be handled on site. But what is the issue is when people come and go from the site. Bonner and Beach is an absolute disaster already. I think if you look at some stats, there's a lot of pranks happen there. And so I do believe that the JDAP will need to assess and look at that intersection as part of the now and future needs. And I do believe that a roundabout will be needed very soon, if not now, in the near future. I don't want our ratepayers to pay for that. I do believe that the applicant, should they force the need for this, they should be paying for it. So that's a significant factor for the applicant to consider and for the JDAP to consider. So I do believe we should let this progress. I think where we stand at the moment is a stage for the JDAP to be able to say, well, these issues do need to be looked at. The applicant will be required to have a very close look at how they deal with that. And I think if we get those things done, we can progress this for our community. As I said, land is scarce, and this is an opportunity for the Islamic community to be able to grow their needs. But more importantly,
You have 1 minute left. Thank you.
more importantly, it's the wider community demand for facilities, and this is just one of them. If we don't proceed with this and allow JDAP to actually work out the issues and either refuse it there or to modify it there, it just simply complicate issues for the school further, and I think we should progress. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask, are there any other speakers for or against? No other speakers? Then before I hand back to you, Councillor Congdon, I'll enter the debate and I'll hand the chair to yourself. Councillors, I can't in good conscience support the school going in this location. With anything geographical, it's always location, location, location. And I honestly believe that the school board would be doing a disservice to future students and teachers if the school is built in this location. I happened to spend some 40 minutes today on Masonry Way watching the flow of the traffic, and without any school, it was an absolute disaster. I saw a trailer parked on the side of the road with a 40-foot sea container on it. I then watched another larger truck come along and spent 12 minutes parked in the middle of the road going to the incorrect side of the road as it offloaded the sea container from the trailer onto the back of its truck. With no footpath, and we heard the deputation from the owners of businesses there last week. You've heard that, the officers have recommended it. Well, the officers also recommended a daycare in the last item, which we unanimously said we won't support, based on traffic and parking issues. So I don't see a difference. There is going to be, and I think there's already traffic and parking issues on Bonner Way. By adding another 400 or 500 students, it's not on a bus route or public transport route, as one of the emails I got today alluded to, is going to create absolute chaos. It is a hemmed-in site. It's nothing to do with religion. We've got many schools and different religious places in the city of Swan: Chin Christian, Hindi Temple, Sikh Gurdwara, Bosnian Herzegovinian, Cambodian, Indian Sacred Temple. It's all about the location. So it's also my personal opinion, it would defy common sense to place a school, particularly a primary school, in a commercial industrial area. It's not made or meant for that. It might tick some boxes on an application form, and yes, it can be approved, but that's not good planning, councillors. I just can't support it at all. I'd like to work with the board to try and find other locations suitable in the city of Swan, and there's been many in the last couple of years. John Septimus Road Primary School on Beachborough Road, we just gave demolition approval. There's a ready-built primary school there. Beachborough Christian School have just bought land off the state government on Bennett Springs Drive. We've still got the Kiara TAFE site, some 30 acres of virgin bushland. 1 minute left, thank you. So there's lots of locations. I know the school has bought the land, and perhaps that was a mistake before getting approval. Yes, it's capable of approval, but as I said before, it just defies common sense in my view. It defies good planning. We can't retrofit the Masonry Way to any great degree because it's one street. It won't handle the traffic. Or if you build a roundabout at the corner of Bonner and Masonry, the trail of cars will lead back into the car park and only be able to get out at a snail's pace when everyone's in a hurry to get home, to get to sport or do things other than being at school. I can't in all honesty support this, the council recommendation. I'll be supporting Councillor Congdon's. Thank you. Your right to reply. Thank you, Councillor Congdon. 3 minutes.
Thank you. Councillors and members in the gallery, I wanted to just say again, this has got nothing to do with having an Islamic school in the city of Swan. And some of the commentary that I've received today, some of the emails I've received today are quite frightening in the way they are focused on anyone who opposes this will happen. When we start talking about the stages 3 and 4, if your traffic engineer had proposed to me a plan for 3 and 4 and maybe purchased a block of land onto Oxley Drive that backed onto the site, and you could have bought that land far cheaper than building a roundabout if you were obliged to build a roundabout in stages 3 and 4. You would have my complete and absolute support. And this is not about you having enough space on site to accommodate all the cars. You will have car after car after car after car waiting to turn in on a left-hand in or a right-hand in on Masonry Way until the other cars have dropped their kids off and moved on the kiss and ride. I'm disappointed that we didn't get a whole traffic study for those impacts, because it would have made life a lot easier, but we haven't, and it's still not available at the moment. So along with some of the other comments that have been made, whether your students come out as lawyers or accountants or philosophers or whatever they are, well done to the teachers of the school. We're not talking about that. We're talking about safety and traffic.
You have 1 minute left, thank you.
And I think it needs to be said, those are the most important things for your neighbours, not in their minds of whether you're going to have students come out of school in fantastic professions. We need to make sure that other people on that road are safe. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'm now putting the motion of Councillor Congdon to refuse approval. Those in favour? Of Councillor Jones, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Catalano, Councillor Congdon, myself, Councillor Parry, Councillor Knight and Councillor Richardson. I believe that is 8. I will now ask those against the motion to raise their hands. There's Councillor Prodovnik, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Howlett, Councillor Singh, Councillor Zanino, Councillor Henderson and Councillor McCulloch, which is 7. The motion is passed, 8 votes to 7. Proposed motion by Councillor Parry falls away. That takes us to, dealt with that, 6.3 in the en bloc section. Item 6.4, it's on page 135, councillors. It's the 2023-24 budget review. There are no alternatives received. It just requires an absolute majority. I'll ask for a mover. Move Councillor Congdon, seconded Councillor Jones. Is there anyone against? Being no one against, I declare that carried. We've dealt with 7.1. Part C. Number 1, notices of motions will be previously given. Item C, 1.1, Councillor Parry, speed zone on Hepburn Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I ask that the council resolve to 1, right to the main roads WA after the construction of the Marangaroo Hepburn Ave roundabout to request the speeding zone of Hepburn Ave to increase from 70 k's per hour to 80 k's per hour. The reason for the motion, a speed limit of 80 k per hour is more appropriate than 70 k per hour on this road.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Congdon. Is there anyone against?
I have a question on a related matter, if I may.
Is it related to this notice of motion or another matter?
It's related to speed limit on Angara Road, where we asked for a review of that and nothing's happened. Is there any update?
Well, I'll deal with this item first, Councillor Henderson. So if no one against this notice of motion, I declare that carried. And C 1.2, report on financial and strategic implications advocating for a University of TAFE in the East Metropolitan Area. Once again, Councillor Parry.
Thank you. I ask that council resolve to 1, call for a further report to be provided on the financial and strategic implications of advocating for a university or TAFE institution within the East Metro area. The reason for the motion is that by adding the proposed East Metropolitan University or TAFE to the advocacy priority list, it highlights to our community and the state and federal government that the City of Swan wishes to accelerate this proposal for the good of our community.
Thank you. I'll call for a second to Councillor Henderson. And I'll once again, is there anyone against? Being no one against, I declare that carried unanimously. Turning to the next item, item 2, notice of motions for consideration of the following meeting if given during this meeting. Nil. And lastly, before I close this meeting, I'd just like to say it's been an absolute privilege representing the City of Swan residents, businesses and community for the last 31 and a half years. I'd like to thank my wife, who was present for my first meeting when I got sworn in May 1992. And thank her for being at my last meeting. And as I said earlier, his witty stuff. I'd just like to thank everyone. I've worked with over 60 councillors I've added up over that period of time, and I think the City of Swan will be in good hands under the leadership of CEO, our executive directors. So just thank you everyone. Well done. I now officially declare this meeting closed at 6:51 p.m. Thank you everyone.